Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Pillars of Pro Wrestling Ontario. I'm your host, Ryan Knight, and over the next few months, we're going to be taking you closer to the action, introducing you to the stars of Pro Wrestling Ontario. Now, last week, we had an incredible guest in the openweight champion, Tyler Hill. Of course, he has been someone you could consider a pillar of PWO. Today's guest is relatively newer. He's been around since 2018 with the company, but he is definitely no slouch. He is no one that you should take lightly when it comes to this business. A man who's certainly been around, and we're going to get to that in just a moment here. So stick around, guys. Plenty of pillars coming your way right after this. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Pillars of Pro Wrestling Ontario. My guest today, Mr. Devon Parkside, a man who has been around for quite a while and is trying to make his way back into the scene and has been doing quite a great job of that, making a lot of headlines all around PWO, it seems. So first and foremost, Devon, welcome to the show. I'm knocking my camera off here, so we're off to a great start.
That's all good. It's all good. Thank you. Thank you for having me, Ryan. I really appreciate the time. I haven't had a big platform in PWO so far for like this, so I really appreciate it, really.
No, this is going to be an exciting time, man, because as I've talked about on this show before, I'm relatively newer to the scene. You're a man that I've heard quite a bit about, but I've never gotten to see perform quite yet. So,
it depends what you're trying to watch. If you're watching old Devon Parkside, you can just skip all over that. That's okay.
Well, then maybe we'll skip over that for now, but we'll get you on Night to the Squared Circle sometime. We'll joke about that.
Sounds great.
All right, so moving forward here, I wanted to talk to you first and foremost, how you holding up during COVID? Because I know that has sidelined everything. We as performers, we as entertainers want to get out there and provide something for the fans. You obviously being somebody who goes into that ring and actually puts your body on the line, you now no longer get that opportunity, which to me seems weird. I would not want to do that anyway, regardless, but you're somebody who does thrive off of that. How has it been, that adjustment period over the last year?
It's been tough. I'm not only am I big into getting into the ring and just pushing my limits, seeing what I'm capable of doing, but I'm also gotten to the gym, and those two things, just it's on again, off again, on again, off again, and it's really frustrating, to be honest with you. Obviously, when things are not locked down and we're allowed to, I try and get in there with Rip Impact at HPW as much as I can, because I need it. I need to push myself and see what I'm capable of.
Of course. Now, you're an interesting case as well, because you were somebody that had just taken a very long hiatus from the wrestling ring, came back, and now after 2 years, 3 years, you were forced, unfortunately, again, to be put on the sideline. How has that adjustment period been for you, considering that? Has it been something where you almost had to keep yourself motivated, or has it been fairly easy because you were still so driven?
When I debuted in PWO, I wasn't an active competitor. I had no idea of or thoughts or anything like that of being an active competitor. I was there to do one thing, and that was to put Jake Jones as high on the pedestal in PWO as I could, and we obviously accomplished that. Matt Grant kind of forced me back into the ring, and he got what he deserved in the end. But, in the meantime, it's just, I really, like I said, I just love the drive. Matt Grant brought something out of me that had been buried and not wanted to be dug back up again in 11, 12 years. Mm-hmm. So it's been tough, but like I said, anytime that we're allowed, I'm in there with Rip as much as I can, just because it's my life. It's almost my lifeblood right now, to be honest.
Well, it's funny you actually mentioned Matt Grant, because I look at Matt Grant as almost a younger you. He's been compared that way a lot of times. You laugh, but
no. He 100% is Devon Parkside Jr., whether he wants to admit it or not. I'm sorry, but he just is. He's old Devon Parkside. That's not a good thing in my opinion, but the comparisons are 100% there.
Well, I mean, at any point, if you're ever looking to offer him some advice, I don't know if he'd listen. Honestly, I don't know if he would listen, but he didn't. It sounds like you've got your head on your shoulders.
Yeah, no, he didn't listen, and that, that's on him. He can take his career wherever he wants to. How he's the standard, I have no idea, but it's just, he doesn't want to listen. That's fine. That's fine.
For sure, for sure. Now, let's talk a little bit about your in-ring career then, because again, as I mentioned a couple of times, you had a very long hiatus. What's it been like for you getting back into the ring? How does it feel after so much time away? Like, are you somebody that was able to get right back into it, took those first bumps again and went, this feels like home? Or was it an adjustment for you to kind of get back into it?
Well, the lucky part, Ryan, was I was probably in the best shape of my entire life when I decided that, I got to deal with Matt Grant and, get back into the ring. So it really was not seamless, but it was easier than I had expected. When I first started, getting my reps in with Rip, some of it was second nature. Now, I wasn't the greatest wrestler back in the day. So, had to relearn some things. Things have changed. But overall, some days hurt more than others, which it's not a surprise. But I don't want to say it was easy, because wrestling is not easy. But it wasn't as hard as I anticipated it to be.
Well, it seems to me, as somebody who, like, you obviously got back into that ring, you competed there for that 2-year stint that you were able to. So it sounds like that wasn't something that you got back in the ring and went, I don't know. It doesn't sound to me like you really had any prepositions of thinking you wouldn't be able to pull it off.
I've really come into my own as in the wrestling world, let's just say in the last little bit, showing up for Jake. I took me a little bit to find my footing, and then I did. And once I did, the bug came back. Everyone talks about the wrestling bug. You go away and you're not going to do it. But then it bites you at some point in time. And it kind of bit me at a necessity with Matt. But at first it was about that. And then it was just about, I wasn't what I consider I was average at best. And I would probably say below average when I wrestled in the past. I know I'm better than that. I know I'm more capable than that. And nowadays it's just about me wanting to push myself to see who I can get into the ring with and what I can do. It's not necessarily about wins and losses. It's not about proving things to other people. It's not a comeback tour or anything like that. It's about me wanting to prove to myself that the Devon Parkside from the early 2000s was not the Devon Parkside that's showing up now. I'm just striving to be the best that I can be.
That's extremely well said, especially considering I did this entire intro. We talked a little bit off air, and I had said, being newer to the scene, I wasn't completely familiar with who Devon Parkside was. And I put you over pretty hard there at the beginning to say, hey, this is the guy that did pretty much everything. And I saw the chuckle, I saw that modesty, and I was kind of curious about it. Hearing your take on it there, it really puts it into perspective that you're not somebody who claims to be the best. You're not somebody who says, look, I am going to be the main event every single time I walk through that curtain. But you're dedicated to working to be a better you, a better performer in that ring, not for anyone but yourself. So that says a lot.
Thank you. Like, at the end of the day, early 2007, Parkside thought he was the king. Wrestled for probably the biggest promotion in Ontario at the time. I'm not going to drop names here, but, and it kind of went to my head. There was a lot of other things going on, and I didn't put the time in anymore. I didn't, train the way I should have been. I had an attitude, Matt Grant. It wasn't a good scene for me. And when I left, I was done. And now I'm 100% humbled. I get in there, I train as hard as I can. I work out as hard as I can. I don't consider myself a veteran. I've had talks with Rip while we're training, and, I'm not going to say he calls me a veteran, but, he does put the mileage that I put into his perspective. But as far as I'm concerned, I'm a day one, I'm a brand new day one piece of clay that's been that's just ready to be molded.
So it's another funny part about that is you are somebody who had a career, but in terms of social media days that we now live in, this crazy social media world, you don't have a lot of content that you could find. So somebody, if let's say PWO, once we get back to putting matches out there and we have a lot more content, when they search Devon Parkside, they're not going to see the Devon that you don't want them to. Like now, like you said, you have a chance to do that day one opportunity and go, this is who I actually am. This is who I've turned into.
Yeah, and I mean it's just I want to put a lot of hard work and dedication. That's not to say my entire catalog of the past is complete garbage. I think a lot of it is, but not all of it.
I don't even think necessarily from a wrestling standpoint, though, too. I think more mentally, it's you knew who you were back in those days. So sometimes matches that I might watch and go, that was fire. That was absolutely incredible. You might have a completely different perspective on that match.
Yeah, no, actually, you brought up a good point with the mentality, too. My mentality, again, you get older, you mature, all that stuff, right? I was in my early 20s when I wrestled, and, that's not who I am anymore.
Right.
And nowhere near it. So, yeah, it's a whole new mindset. It's a whole new philosophy. And it's just, I don't want to say it's a whole new me, but it's, there's been that progression.
Of course. Now, how do you plan on applying this progression into PWO? Because, of course, you're involved in the Iron Cup tournament.
Yes.
There's going to be, I guarantee, an opportunity at an openweight championship if you stay with this mentality and you stay on this course. So what is most important to you with PWO? How are you approaching these and using what we just talked about in preparation?
So Iron Cup, you mentioned it. To me, Iron Cup is one of the premier tournaments in Ontario. It may not be the top one, but it's definitely made a name for itself as one of the top events in all of Ontario. You can debate me on that, and that's fine, but that's my mindset.
I'm good. I'm not going to debate you on that one.
Okay, that's my mindset. So you can, ask the guys that are at the gym. When I'm training, all I'm training for is to step into that tournament setting against 7 highly skilled and knowledgeable and veteran and powerhouse and bunch of different guys. And my goal is to not make an ass of myself, but really just like to prove to myself that I can hang, that I'm capable of, beating people that maybe I had no chance of way back in the day. Hanging with people that have definitely stepped their game up 150% since I did wrestle with them in the past. I just want to hang and see how far I can push myself, how far I can go. It might make me a little more dangerous than what some people are willing to, I might just be a one-off, Anti-Hero, I'm sure thought I was a one-off in our match at the last show, but, I somehow came up on top. And yeah, I made him tap, and that was very satisfying for me. Not anything to do with SOS, but just for me, that's a guy that is one of the best in Ontario, and somehow I managed to come out on top, which I have no idea how. If you watch that match, I
watched it back today, actually.
Thank you. Well, it wasn't, again, learning experience. Anti-Hero's very talented, and it was definitely a good experience for me. But that's just
a victory that you feel like you almost stole in a way.
Oh, with the exception of Matthew Grant, and I hate giving him a bunch of airtime. I don't feel like I can go into any match and it's easy. It's going to be easy. Matthew Grant was the only one I thought was going to be, easy, and he put up a better fight than what I was expecting. But Anti-Hero, that was a hard match. 7 other guys, guys that I wrestled with, Justin Sane, that guy's a tank. Carter Mason, that's a guy that, he's really stepped up his game. And if there's anyone eating crow from way back in the day, when it comes to Carter Mason, it's me. Steve Brown, Jake Jones, Randy Bonone, Evan Greenaway, that kid scares the crap out of me. And Liam Worldwide, I think that's everyone. But like all these guys, I'm going to have to fight tooth and nail just to succeed as far as I can, because I believe in myself, but I don't know how far against any one of those guys, how good my chances are.
Well, and that's a big thing, because, of course, when you're talking about Anti-Hero, I know that you and Anti-Hero have quite a history. I know from the few matches that I could find online, it was featuring you, and he wasn't Anti-Hero at the time, but, of course, he's going through some stuff right now.
Absolutely.
So when you look at the roster on PWO, you mentioned quite a few guys. Is there anybody from that list that you didn't think of that you're willing to get, or not willing, but you're waiting to get into that ring with, wanting to, and just can't wait to be in that ring?
if we're going to take the Iron Cup guys out of it, because I want to get in the ring with all of those guys because they're all the cream of the crop PWO right now. You know, a guy who stepped in and out of PWO, Alessandro Del Bruno, he might be the best in Ontario right now. I know him from way back in the day, and he was not the same guy that he is now. I would love to see if I'm capable of getting in there and, you know, how well I could do. I'm probably lose, but, you know, I'd like to push my limits against him. I love training with Rip. You know, we have, you know, our scuffles all the time at training, but, you know, could I beat a Rip Impact in today's climate? That'd be tough.
You're interested to find out. You're interested to find out, though. I can see
you
it.
know,
Yep.
All these guys, and even the new crop. Like, don't get me wrong, with PWO, you've got your. I mentioned Greenaway, but you got your Clay Wilsons. You've got your airstrike guys, Forte and Arrow, right? You've got all these guys that are coming up at a quick rate with a high talent level that I would love the opportunity to get in there and see, am I capable of hanging with them and potentially taking their arm off in the process and winning? Really, that's my MO. So I'd love to see
that. I'd love to see that.
Well, hopefully. I mean, Bill Chase doesn't love me, so I don't know he won't make my life easy, but we'll see. We'll see what he throws my way.
You see, I try to stay on Bill Chase's good side, being, you know, working with the company, doing these interviews. I want to make sure that man is happy. But every guy that I bring on here for an interview just seems to have problems with him. So I feel like I'm going to have problems inherently because of this. So, Bill, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to get on your bad side. Please keep paying us.
Oh, yeah. No, Bill, if you stop paying Ryan, we're going to have words again. And you know how that's come out like every time that we've dealt with each other. So keep paying them.
So on the last couple of questions I've got here for you, one thing I want to bring up, because, again, you're somebody who seems very humble. Somebody who I never knew you back in the day, but you seem very humble now. You seem like you've got your head on.
It's a complete 180 from back in the day, but thank you.
Now, knowing that, you weren't very well liked back in the day, not just from a backstage standpoint. I don't know anything about that, but I know fan-wise, you would walk out there and get booed like you wouldn't believe. You knew how to work that crowd. So what has changed? Why is it now you've taken, is it because of this humble mentality that you want to try to relate to the audience more and maybe not sympathize, but connect with them more on a positive level?
So, yeah, I mean, as I alluded to, I had an attitude. I had a little bit of an ego back in the day. And, you know, I didn't care what the fans thought at that point in time. You know, I was doing what I needed to do to what I felt was successful. And it was the wrong path. As you get older, you mature. As you mature, it's one of these things that's like, you know what? I'm sick of spewing a lot of hate and anger and just garbage out there. You know, the world has enough of that as it is, and we don't need that anymore. You know, I'd really like to be on the right side of things this time around. And it's not even so much that I want to like, rah, go Devon Parkside. That's great. I love the fans. They're great. They've been super supportive, and I appreciate every single one of them. But it's just, you know, I want to be a guy that people can get behind. Maybe I don't even want to say like a success story or anything like that. But if, you know, 10 concussions, 11, 12 years out of it, and I'm coming back, if that can inspire anybody to do anything in their life, it doesn't matter. Like, then, you know,
that's what you're in it for right now. And to me, it's not necessarily, when I had said you're connecting with the fans, you're not looking to connect with the fans per se, and not in a negative way. You're looking to do what you had said earlier, which is focus on yourself, focus on your in-ring ability and making yourself a better person. So if people are attached to that along the way, amazing, but that's not your end goal.
No, like I said, I appreciate them, but whatever's going to happen is going to happen. If they decide one day they don't want to cheer for me anymore, so be it. You know, I hope that doesn't happen, but I'm just trucking on as necessary, and we'll see who comes with me.
That's excellent. Devon, I want to thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to be a part of the Pillars of Pro Wrestling Ontario. Before we let you go, do you have any last words you want to say to the Pro Wrestling Ontario audience? I know it's been a while since we've seen them, but hopefully we're going to be seeing them soon. We're hoping.
Hopefully, I hope so. PWO audience, PWO roster members, you know, I'm coming. I'm here. I'm dedicated. You know, the second everything opens up again, you know where I'm going to be. I'm going to be training at HPW, and I'm going to be busting my butt as hard as I can for that Iron Cup tournament. That is the premier tournament. And if anyone doubts me, then, that's cool. Let me know though, because it's just going to fuel me to do better and better and better. And I'm coming, and we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Devon. And thank you guys for tuning in to the Pillars of Pro Wrestling Ontario. Don't forget to like and subscribe down below and all that other YouTube stuff that we tell you to do. And give us a like all across social media. We will see you guys next time on the Pillars of Pro Wrestling Ontario.
Take care.